What is keto? So, keto is a diet where you are looking to put your body into a chemical state known as ketosis, which is different than ketoacidosis, which is related to diabetes. Ketosis is the breakdown of fat in your liver, makes the fat cells into ketones, which your body then uses as fuel. So to do this, you need to limit your carbohydrate intake, because our body prefers to use glycogen as its fuel source, and glycogen comes from carbohydrates. Ketones come from fats. So, specifically, you need to limit your carbs below 30 grams, ideally below 20 grams per day. So as you can imagine, this makes bread impossible, rice impossible. All of your carbohydrates are generally coming from nuts, cheeses, and vegetables. It's also good to note that you are counting net carbs, and what net carbs are if you look at, let's look at kale, for example. Kale's net carbs are 4.7 grams per cup. This means that you take the full carbohydrate of a full cup of kale and you subtract the dietary fiber to get the net carbohydrates of a food item. And why this is important is we found that dietary fiber does not affect our blood sugar, so you can eat a whole bunch of it and you'll be totally fine as far as blood sugar levels go, which means that you will stay in a state of ketosis. So currently, Chelsea and I, you and I, are on a total of under 20 grams of net carbs per day to keep us in ketosis. The process does take time. When you first start, you have to burn through all of the carbohydrates in your body, and this depends on your lifestyle choices. So obviously, if you start running and exercising, you're going to burn through those carb stores faster than if you're doing something more sedentary. And then I'm sure there's also a variety of other factors that affect that. But anyway, so your body needs to get used to using fat as fuel. And this process takes generally 4 to 6 weeks of uninterrupted time. That means no cheat days at all, 0. Because otherwise your body just goes back to using glycogen and stores it up, and then you've got to burn through it again. So 4 to 6 weeks, 4 to 8 weeks is what you need to stay in ketosis. And okay, so the other part of keto, what is keto, is instead of counting calories, you're counting what are called macros. So generally speaking, you want less than 5% of your daily caloric intake to come from carbohydrates, and then you're looking for a moderate amount of protein intake, with about 75 to 90% of your caloric intake coming from fats. Specifically, you want healthy fats. So you'll hear like bacon comes up a lot in the keto world, and bacon's fine. You can eat bacon on keto, but that's not the healthiest food for you. So if we're going to talk about like overall health, breakfast on a daily basis for Chelsea and I looks closer to eggs mixed with goat cheese on red leaf lettuce or romaine lettuce, and then typically also sprinkled with fresh herbs. So there's a big difference there in the types of fats we're getting. We're also getting omega-3 fatty acids from those eggs. We're getting good cholesterol in from those eggs. So this pattern echoes throughout our food intake throughout the day. But to go back, we'll get into some more of that later. To go back to what this means, the moderate amount of protein intake to the high fat intake is what optimizes fat loss on this diet, and optimizes ketone usage, and it's also what minimizes the side effects of eating too much protein, which is a concern with kidney and liver function. You're not slamming your diet with protein. It's definitely a part of it, but again, you're going more for healthy fats coming from nuts, coconut oil, olive oil, that sort of thing.
Excellent. And how are you tracking your progress?
So, this has been a journey. Right now, I have an app on my phone that has a huge database of food. It's called Nutritionix, and it's a free app. And I just type in whatever it is that's in front of me that I don't have a food label for, and it gives me the nutritional information. For specifically, again, what I'm looking for are how much protein is in an item, how much fat is in an item, and how many net carbs are in an item. I have a logbook of common food items right now, so I write all of those numbers down, and so I have my own little food label storage, if you will, so that looking at that information isn't so frustrating. But every single day I have a chart that I make. It's got the date, and then under it has a P, an F, and an NC, protein, fat, net carbs. And I keep a running total throughout the day of what I'm eating. And my specific caloric intake need at the moment for my goal of gaining muscle while losing weight is 128 grams of protein, 101 grams of fat, and 20 net carbs per day. So that puts me at a 20% caloric deficit every day, while giving me 1.2 grams of protein per pound of lean muscle in my body. Okay, so I keep a running total throughout the day, and what I've discovered is that means that I can basically have breakfast and dinner, and that's about it for my specific weight loss needs and, again, strength training needs. Because after I did the math for a couple of days of staying on this really strict diet, I found that a lot of food has fat in it, which is good on a keto diet, but not good when you're trying to lose weight. And that you really need to pay attention to your protein to fat ratio. As I started tracking the macros on things, I realized that chicken is really the best way to go. Lean ground turkey is the best way to go, because you're getting like 24 grams of protein to 7 grams of fat. That means that you can then eat something like macadamia nuts at the end of the night and get 23 grams of fat more in your diet for one carb, and you're really, saturating your system with those good, healthy plant fats, not those not as good for you animal fats. So like I said, not all of my food has labels. I have a lot of measuring cups and measuring spoons, and I have a food scale in my house. So for somebody who's not great at math, this has been an amazing applicable math project It's probably the most math I've ever done in my life. So yeah, I've gotten used to literally weighing every portion of food I put in my mouth, or on my plate I should say, and then in my mouth. And it's incredible. Like, this sounds so dumb, but food is really calorically dense. And I look at what I'm eating now, and I'm like, holy crap. Like, it's no wonder I was overweight. And still am, technically. I'm still at a 26, 27 BMI, which is still overweight. Which is, you think that's shocking, but, like, it's not. We're really supposed to be quite little. But we're also supposed to be very, very active, and so I'm trying to accomplish both. But anyway, I digress. I'm looking at the portions we're eating compared to the portions I used to be eating, and it's incredible. Like, this is a perfectly healthy amount of food to be eating, but it is not a lot. I'm functioning fine. I'm hungry. I'm getting less hungry, but I'm functional. I'm alert, I'm up, I'm active, I'm exercising nearly 7 days a week. Rest days are important, but we kind of like mix them in sporadically. Yeah, so measuring it's been a journey. It's taught me a lot about food.
What foods have you limited or eliminated from our diet?
Oh, man, bananas, yogurt,
Bread.
bread,
Rice.
rice.
I can chirp up here.
Yeah. You don't have to be silent.
And then the obvious, like, cupcakes or brownies. So, like,
carbs.
when you have a sweet tooth or a craving.
Maple syrup and honey.
Oh.
Those were killer.
Yeah.
But we did discover monk fruit sugar, which for all intents and purposes can be used just like sugar, but does not raise your blood sugar levels. So, and it's a 0-calorie sweetener, and it doesn't taste like crap. Like, sorry for anybody who likes stevia out there. I think it's gross. Truvia is not much better. But monk fruit sugar, that's amazing. We've added ghee. That's been incredible. That wasn't like, that's not like a keto thing. It actually originally comes from Ayurvedic medicine, and the keto movement, I don't know how they got a hold of it, but that's how I discovered it. Was keto. It's amazing. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend trying it. It will change your life. Put it in coffee. It's incredible. But yeah, anyway, fruit. So fruit's been the killer.
Oh, yeah.
And yogurt's been killer too. And it comes down to carbs. One banana has 27 grams of carbs. That we can't eat a banana. I could barely eat a piece of a banana. That's my carb intake for the day. Even whole fat yogurt, like, that's 10 grams of carbs and then you can limit the serving, but it's like, why, when what I could do is eat more eggs? Because I can eat like significantly more eggs than I can eat yogurt, and when you're only having 2 meals a day, what I started to do, I'm sure all people start to do, is they start to like compromise in ways that still reach your goals, right? But like, romaine lettuce has only 0.3 carbs per cup, whereas kale has 4.7 per cup. So you're damn right I mix the romaine with the kale so that I can have a bulkier salad, because that's delicious. And so maybe not every week I get broccoli, even though I love broccoli, but it's like 5.7 carbs per cup. And honestly, when you're talking about a cup of broccoli, that's like a single little stalk. It's not that much broccoli. So it does really, you gotta like start to do your research, and you gotta start to know your taste buds, and you gotta start to like reevaluate your entire shopping list, which is difficult. The learning curve on that was rough. There was a little bit of food waste that happened. It was very heartbreaking. We got it on lockdown now, though.
What were some of your early pitfalls with the diet?
Okay, so we mentioned the grocery shopping. There's a little bit of food waste because I wasn't really sure what we could eat yet, and I had, a habit. So there's that. There was also an initial misunderstanding of calories, and alright, to be more specific, so there's this guy that I do, I get all my research from. His name is Thomas DeLauer. He's on YouTube. You should check him out if you're interested. He has a lot of great information on keto. And one of the things he recommended was that in your initial week or so of being on keto, you should be eating 2 grams of fat for every 1 gram of protein. Now at the time we were only on 0.8 grams of protein per lean body mass, but that's a lot of fat. It was a lot, and I didn't feel too hot on it. And we put on weight, and I'm like, something isn't computing here, because obviously the point isn't to put weight on, it's to take weight off. So I did more research, and of course it came up with, you gotta be in a calorie deficit. But my calorie deficit puts my fat under my protein intake. Now it's supposed to be moderate protein, but high fat. But when I did that, I was losing strength. So I actually, there was just not so much a pitfall there, but a research learning curve. And there's conflicting research that I found that says you can be on 1.2 grams of protein and be under fats, and as long as you're under carbohydrates you're still in ketosis. And you're supposed to do things like test your blood, which I'm not too keen on. Chelsea's all about it. She's like, prick me, and no. But I don't care to. 1, I don't have the money, and 2, I'm losing the weight now and the strength is there. So what more could you really ask for in that regard? Okay, yeah, so pitfalls. There was the macro miscalculation and the groceries. And then there's a lot of I'm a big Instagram person, and there's a lot of stuff out there about fat bombs and keto desserts and whatnot. And so of course the cooking fanatic that I am, which is something I've had to sacrifice since keto, I haven't really cooked the same or as much. It's just too hard to calculate macros for me at night. Was these dessert items. I went out and I got almond flour, coconut flour, and my family got me stuff for Christmas, all keto friendly. And I was like, I want to make these sugar cookies. You make the sugar cookies and you cut them up, and then you calculate the macros, and you're like, I can have half of this cookie maybe tonight. And then it's oh shit, I have to store all these cookies now that I just made that I wasn't anticipating, because I thought I'd be able to eat them because they're keto friendly, and I didn't do that math right before I made them. So turns out for my particular calorie restriction, those fat bombs that look oh so delicious, they don't exist in my diet, because I can't if I expect to continue to lose weight.
Do you use pictures or other types of media to track your progress?
Yeah, so we do a monthly check-in. The first of every month we do a photograph, and we add it to our Instagram stream so you can keep up with our progress if you want. And that helps us check our BMI in a realistic way. And also, in all honesty, we have a mirror in front of our scale, and everybody's got to check themselves out. So there's a pretty daily check-in, and they say not to, but it hasn't really affected my mental health the way I think they say, don't do it because you'll get discouraged. I'm not really one to become discouraged by anything. So mostly I just check myself out, and if it's not what I look like or want to look like, I'm all right, cool, you got here, let's keep going. So one of the questions we've gotten is like, how long are you going to do keto for? And what happens when you incorporate carbs back in? Because a lot of people are like, oh, you go on keto, you come off, you're going to gain weight. They're not wrong. One, as soon as you incorporate more carbs into your diet, you're automatically going to gain water weight, like 3-4 pounds of water weight. It's just like whoosh, on. Because carbs hold water, fats don't. But water weight is water weight, like I don't care if I gain 4 pounds, 5 pounds of water weight back. It doesn't bother me. Like, I'm just hydrated at that point. That's cool. But then they're talking about like, your body actually taking those carbohydrates and storing them. I don't know what will happen when we start incorporating carbs back, but I do have a plan. So January 25th is Chelsea's birthday. Yay! Happy birthday. We are breaking keto for her birthday because it's celebration time, and we've been doing this for 4 weeks, nearly 4 weeks straight now. So not just in keto, but like also under calories. So we're hungry and we miss carbohydrates. Anyway, so after her birthday, I'm gonna up our net carbs to 25 grams until St. Patty's Day. So we're gonna do our next like 4 to 6 week stretch of dieting and ketosis, at which point we're gonna bump up to 30, which is still keto, but we're starting to bump up against what might be a personal metabolism. We don't know. I don't know. Again, this is where like blood measurements and stuff would come into handy. But like beyond 30, generally if you stay under 100, you should still be in ketosis, but everybody's chemistry is different. So what I'm trying to say is I don't know what my blood chemistry is like. So I don't know if we'll go out of ketosis above 30 grams. We'll find out. As soon as we bloat with water, I guess we'll know. So slowly we're going to be switching over fats to carbohydrates, 5 or 10 grams every 4 weeks or so. We might ramp up closer to the summer because there's a lot of good stuff to eat, and I have different body goals in the summer. My theory is that by introducing carbs in stages, we will avoid some of the weight gain that other people are talking about, because Chelsea and I aren't changing our lifestyle. We're not going back to like fast foods and like Five Guys or whatever. We're gonna be incorporating bananas and yogurt and other whole foods into our diet still. We're not going to have enough carbohydrates to introduce breads right away. And when we do have enough carbs to introduce breads, we're going to be probably, hopefully, more mindful about how often those kinds of carbs enter into our life. So that's something that we can keep you all posted on as we do make those diet changes. But the next update will not be until the beginning of February then.